On this episode of the Sorority Chat podcast.
And I think if you look at my Instagram, you look at my LinkedIn or whatever, it might look like, oh, she's always had like cool jobs or whatever. But I feel like my career has been all over the place. I've been in several different roles, but I also feel like everything took me to where I'm supposed to be right now. I wish I would have had someone tell me when I was young, like, it doesn't always have to be a straight shot, and it doesn't mean you won't get to like where you want to be. It's okay if it's like a little messy and you do quit jobs without plans and things like that. So, I think that's cool that you pointed out that things aren't always linear.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Sorority Chat. I'm Liz Alexander, a designer and sorority alum who's obsessed with all things Greek life. My mission? To bring you real conversations, smart insights, and fun stories that help make sorority living even better. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's chat. Hey Sorority Chatters, welcome back. Today's guest is extra special to me because she's not just a talented professional in the music industry, she's also a dear friend of mine, and I've had the joy of watching her grow into her career over the last several years. Molly Tarr grew up in Ashland, Kentucky, and went on to attend Belmont University, where she studied public relations and music business. While at Belmont, she was a proud member of Alpha Sigma Tau, serving as both chaplain and t-shirt chair, which, if you know Greek life, means she was equal parts heart and creativity for her chapter. She's still living in Nashville and working at 888 Management as an artist and marketing manager, helping guide talent across country, Americana, and indie music scenes. In an exciting major milestone, she just signed her very first management client. She's passionate about mentorship, setting healthy boundaries in the workplace, and making time for rest in fast-paced industries. All topics that I know you can relate to, whether you're in your first job or leading a team. So today we're going to talk about navigating the music business, growing into leadership, and what it looks like to build a career that you love while still protecting your peace. Molly Tarr, welcome.
Hi, it's so good to be with you. I'm so excited.
I'm excited to have you. It's kind of sisters with cool jobs angle that we're going for today, I guess.
I love that, and it's so fun. I mean, sorority was a big part of my journey, and I'm still very close with my sisters. I actually work with one of my sorority sisters at my current job. We weren't sisters at the same time, but at the same school and chapter, which was really fun when she started and we put that together.
That is really cool. I didn't realize that. That's just a fun little connection.
Yeah, it was like when she put it together, we were like, oh my gosh, sisters, and so it was fun to hear how the chapter had evolved because she was about 10 years behind me and see like what was similar, what's changed, and kind of what has been the through line for both of our experiences. So that was really a cool thing.
That is really cool. It's so funny when sorority experience transcends like that and it comes back into play in a way you didn't expect.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so start at the beginning. What drew you from Ashland, Kentucky, so Eastern Kentucky, to Nashville, Tennessee? And like what drew you to Belmont?
Always loved music growing up, but I was, from a very small town. So to go to concerts, we had to go to Lexington or Cincinnati in Ohio. And it was just something I always really cared about. And then my 7th grade year, middle school, we took a trip to Nashville, and then we went on to Huntsville, Alabama to space camp. And I called my mom when we got to Nashville, and I was like, this is the coolest city ever. Why have you never brought me here? And the only place that I went while I was here was the Hard Rock Cafe and the Parthenon. And so anywho, that just kind of stuck with her. And some of our family friends moved here to try to make it in the music business. And so we planned a trip to come visit them. And while I was here, they were like, you love music and you like really care about like talent and all this stuff. You should look at Belmont when you're older. And so from 7th grade on, I kind of had in the back of my head, like, I'm going to Belmont. And then, reality sets in and I applied to like 6 schools and was like, should I go to a school that I picked out in middle school where I'm going to know no one? And then it just felt right. And so I moved here and I studied PR and then minored in music business. And then I fell in love with the city, and then I just stuck around.
I think that's really cool. It's also very brave to just up and move somewhere so far away, to your point, where you don't know anyone.
Yeah, I will say I did leave for 1 semester after my freshman year because I hated it. Everyone here knows what they want to do. I don't actually know what I want to study. Like I knew music something, but I didn't know exactly what that looked like. And everyone was like, wanted to be a singer, and they were like so sure of themselves. So I actually left for 1 semester. I don't even know if you knew this. And I went to Moorhead in Kentucky. And that quickly did not work out. And then I had kept in touch with my friends at Belmont. I came to visit once. And then I feel like I had a little more clarity on just what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. And I actually transferred back, which I also felt was very brave of me and very kind of my parents to kind of roll with all the changes I was throwing at them. And they never, made me feel bad or whatever. And they were just like, whatever will make you feel good, we're cool with, which is very kind to a young 19-year-old girl having no idea what she wanted to do.
Yeah, it is. It is. I did not know that part of your story. And I think it's good for people to hear that because we always assume about other people that their journey is very linear while we're experiencing twists and turns of our own. And so if somebody doesn't tell you about their twists and turns, then that's all you assume is that they've just had a very direct path.
Yeah. And I think if you look at my Instagram, you look at my LinkedIn or whatever, it might look like, oh, she's always had cool jobs or whatever. But even when I was thinking about this, I was talking to a friend last week who's trying to switch jobs and she's at one of the coolest companies. Everyone in the world knows it. And she's like, it's just not for me anymore. And she's kind of considering taking a job that's probably not a forever job. And so I feel like my career has been all over the place. I've been in several different roles, but I also feel like everything took me to where I'm supposed to be right now. And it wasn't a straight line artist manager the whole time, which I think is really cool because, in Nashville, everything feels flashy, big. You're always posting your highest achievements. And there have been several times where it's I quit a job without knowing what I was doing because it no longer fit me. And it was actually detrimental to my mental health and well-being. And so I took that chance and, then I took jobs that maybe were a step down or didn't necessarily push me forward to where I am now. But honestly, things I learned in those jobs make me better at my current job. And so I think I wish I would have had someone tell me when I was young, it doesn't always have to be a straight shot. And it doesn't mean you won't get to where you want to be. It's okay if it's a little messy and you do quit jobs without plans and things like that. So, I think that's cool that you pointed out that things aren't always linear.
Yeah, and it takes time and experience and age to be able to retrospectively look back and see what you're saying now, that it's full circle, because I feel that way. It's so obvious now how every piece of work that I did and every step that I took led me to this and what's going on right now. But in the moment, you don't know that and you're just forging ahead.
Yeah. And I think about all the nights I cried or stayed up stressed or being this is never going to work out. And it's yeah, that's hard, but that's also part of the growth to figure out, refining who you are, learning how to set boundaries, because I was really bad at that. Of course, right out of college, you don't set any boundaries because you don't feel like you're in a position to. And so I think now I try to help the younger people at my company, younger friends in my life, equipping them to be here are conversations you can have with your boss that maybe help set a boundary, or how to ask for vacation because people get scared to do that, or so I have become the person that people come to write emails for their bosses or help them refine what they want to say to be more bold and ask, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I didn't have that. And so I want to help, champion others to find their voice, to advocate for themselves.
Yeah, I think that's good. I'm going to call you Molly GPT, and they're coming to you to get all of that. So talk about that. Talk about setting boundaries for yourself professionally and what your experience has been with that and what you've learned and how you implement those now.
Totally. When I started, I was a receptionist at an artist management company and I had no boundaries. I was just so thankful to get a job because when I graduated, I couldn't get a job right away. I nannied for a year. I moved home briefly for a year, worked at my stepdad's office. And so I just felt finally, I've gotten a job. I have to just do anything and everything. And I do think there is benefits when you're early in your career to take on any and everything because you learn so much about yourself, what you like, what you don't like. Maybe because I, as the receptionist, was I'm going to ask every single person at this company, how can I help them with a project so I can learn and grow? So that also set me up then to be everyone's helper, which, was hard, but it also exposed me to, I ended up learning that I love doing events. I really liked artist management. And so then eventually I was able to transition. So as I grew, because I stayed at that company for 5.5 years, and by the end, I was running our events division as a project manager and doing high-end VIP and boutique festivals across the country. it was awesome, but also I was still treated as the receptionist in some ways because people had gotten so used to the original boundaries I set that I was like, okay, going to my next job when I'm starting over, how can I like do that? And I feel like it was a gradual process. I got a little more bold of like, okay, no, I'm not going to help with X, Y, and Z because of these reasons. I don't have the time. Could we ask these people? And trying to like, not just say no, but like, hey, have you asked blah, blah, blah about that? And it was not always respected, and that's okay. But like, I feel like it did grow my confidence. And then I stepped out on my own for about 4 years and did freelancing. And through that, I really had to learn how to set boundaries because if you're bringing on clients, it's like I didn't want to, I left a pretty toxic work situation. So I was like, I don't want to like then take on clients that I'm allowing to treat me in that previous way. So I think it's been a gradual process. So when I interviewed for my current job, I went out to dinner with the owner and I said, hey, here's how I look at this role going. I think these are how the operating hours go. This is how my vacation and PTO would look. What does that look like for you? What are your boundaries? And I also invited him to share, like, because he has kids, like, what are your working hours? When do you need to be left alone? And so I think it really is a process. But I think, being brave and putting myself out there has been good to learn. Like, it can be respected and you keep growing. You know what I mean?
I 100% know what you mean. As an entrepreneur, I dealt with that myself, starting my company young. You want to say yes to everything. It's exactly what you said. You're just so excited to get to do the work. And I also notice this in my creative friends. We're so excited to get to do work that we love. We feel like we shouldn't say no, or we shouldn't say yes, but I need some extra time. It's like we have to jump and do everything on the spot. And I don't know why that's the case, but I see it across the board with creative friends.
Totally. I think there's just like element of like, we're so lucky to be doing what we actually love that like, why would we squash a project or something? Because I feel like sometimes it feels like if you say no to something that maybe isn't the right fit, you're never going to get another opportunity. And so sometimes I have taken stuff that like, yeah, I knew in my gut it wasn't right, but I was like kind of that like scarcity mindset of like, it's just not going to come back. And that just truly hasn't been the case. And I feel so fortunate because I am blessed that I get to work in music, something I feel so passionate about. But also, I think that first time I quit a job without a plan, which was risky, I truly believed in myself and I was like, I will figure out a way to make money. And there were times where I was like, I'm never working in music again. And then somehow, because of my hard work, the relationships I built, opportunities presented themselves always at the right time.
Mm-hmm. I distinctly remember lots of conversation around leaving that job. We were all at the lake together, and there were, 3 other people in the group, interestingly enough, that had left a job without knowing where they were going. And we had a lot of deep conversation around what that could look like for you.
Totally. And I remember that like empowering me to be like seeing other people that had done it and somehow it has worked out. They were not, not being able to pay rent or their mortgage or whatever. And so I think that has been important to me telling my story to others because you never know what's going to resonate with someone. Maybe they're not in that season right now, but then they can remember like, oh, Molly made that work just like that happened when we were sitting at the houseboat. And, it's just, you never know when those conversations will like linger with someone. So I think it is important to be transparent about the good and bad.
Yeah, that's what I love about these podcast conversations when people share their experience. That transparency, I think, goes a long way with someone, and you just never know how it might resonate or who it might resonate with.
1000%.
You were talking about some of the projects or experiences that you took that you were like, ooh, probably shouldn't have done this, or it wasn't great. In my experience, while those things suck, those are the things I've learned the most from and inform future decisions. Do you feel like you've gotten that same benefit from those quote mistakes?
Yes, there was like one, like in my freelance period, one of my friends had reached out about this guy she knew that was hiring for his hospitality business. And I met with him and I loved him and like he was awesome. But I also knew it wasn't the right time in his like life to be hiring a full-time person. I really tried to push for part-time and he was like, no, we have enough work, whatever. And immediately I was like, they do not have enough work. And I also just I always feel bad about taking people's money when I don't feel like I'm giving them their full value. And so anywho, it just ended up being like, I was hired to like help scale a business via marketing. And I was changing batteries on Airbnb door locks and things like that. It just like, yeah, it was not what I was like signed up for. But I feel like through that, it actually gave me a voice to like learn how to speak up. And I ended up having a lot of really hard conversations with him. And because I felt like a little bit like I had nothing to lose because it wasn't in the music industry, like I felt like I could be a little more bold to be like, hey, do you still need me? Like, let's have a come to Jesus here of like, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm hearing you say, and this is the work I'm doing. And so I felt like I like learned how to have harder conversations, and that now in my current role, I'm not scared. And I see a lot of other people in my life very scared to have like more direct conversations, and I don't. And I really credit it to that job, which now looking back, I was like, okay, that wasn't a waste, even though it felt like, why am I at an Airbnb changing locks and like making beds occasionally, you know? So I think my biggest life lesson I've learned is like nothing is wasted. Everything you do is leading to something. And there are times even in that job where it's playing such a big part of what I do now, even though it was a completely different field. So that's what I always try to remind friends when they're like stuck in places they don't love or something's really annoying about their job. I'm like, somehow this will pay off in the future and it's going to make your future job so much easier because you can just whip something out. And I was like, I know it doesn't feel like it. And like we were talking about, hindsight is 2020, but it definitely is true.
Yeah, totally. So back to the Molly GPT thing, when you were talking about speaking up in this job at the Airbnb doing the locks, you mentioned at the beginning, people come to you about like, and you're coaching them on how to ask for vacation time or how to let their employer know that when they're going to take their time. Talk a little bit about that, because I think there's a lot of people that are scared to do it. And so they either ask very timidly or they go too far the other direction and come in kind of aggressively. And there is a very sweet spot in the middle there.
Totally. And I think I have seen a lot of people I've worked with say like, I'll take this vacation, but don't worry, I'll be available. And I say, stop saying you'll be available, because to me, that time off is just as important as any work day. Because if I don't have time to reset my brain, especially because we're in such creative fields, I can't be a creative fountain 24/7. And so for me, like literally at this new job, the first thing I said to my boss was, what does PTO time look like? That's very important to me. And he was like, the new thing is we don't have a policy. It's unlimited. And I'm like, okay, but do people take that? Because I will take that. And so the funny thing was when I was applying for this job, a month in, I was already planning a big 2-week trip to South Korea. And so I told him before I accepted the job, I said, hey, I'm in the middle of planning this trip. It's in 1 month. I will be gone for 2 weeks. Is that okay? Because I was kind of like, I'm going to put the policy to a test. And he was like, absolutely, book it. And so before we left, I made a whole checklist. I think what I've learned is setting your teammates up that will be covering for you you need to set them up to make people want to give you more PTO kind of vibe, but so I like set up boundaries. I was like, okay, here are all the things that we need to go over before I leave to make sure you are set up to win while I'm gone. So I had a very thorough checklist. I showed him all the things I'd already put in place, whether it was emails that were scheduled to be sent out. And then I said, but I will not be available. If there is a dire emergency, fine. So I try to tell my coworkers that as well, of like, don't say you'll be available. That's actually not helpful. That's not getting to enjoy your PTO. Don't take meetings. Wow, that's not PTO. You're working. So I think I have learned, I try to give as much notice as possible. And I try to say, maybe this is because I'm further into my career, but I actually don't for PTO, but that's maybe the way my company's policy. I say, I am taking these dates. I have checked the calendar. The calendar is clear during this time. So there's not any projects that this will be impacting. And I will make sure that everything is set up to win when I leave. And I think that's been really helpful. My boss has always respected that. Yesterday, it's funny that this is coming up now, but yesterday he was sitting in my office and I was like, hi, so next year I'm going to Antarctica and I will be gone. Yes, I know, I'm going to Antarctica. And I was like, this is a very big trip. It's costing quite a bit of money. And I want to go ahead. We're, a little over a year out. I'm going to go ahead and tell you about it. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on the calendar. So we do not plan anything around that time. This is very important to me. So I'm giving you almost a year's notice, which maybe is a little extreme and won't work in every scenario. But I have found you got to be on it. So then you're setting people up to win.
Yeah, 100%. From an employer's perspective, I don't want my people to come and say, can I have this day off, right? Like it's understood, like you're in charge of your schedule as long as you get your shit done. we're all in a good spot. And so getting your stuff done also means exactly what you said. Setting up the rest of the team for success while they're covering for you. And then you're also setting yourself up for success so that once you're back, you're not buried, or you're keeping the clients in a good spot. Like, that's managing your job. And so if that means you're taking time off, that's fine. That's great, because to your point, that's exactly how you need to recharge, and you need to walk away, and life can't be all work. But there is a way of saying, like, hey, I've made sure that we're all in good shape while I'm gone. Hey, I'm giving you plenty of notice here. And then everybody's usually in a good spot. Really, the problems just come when it pops up immediately and somebody's bailing on something that puts the rest of the team in a bad position.
1000%. And I think the reason my boss knows if I'm asking for time off, he will give it to me in a heartbeat, because he knows I'm going to like make sure everything's done, make sure everything's set up well, and like protect my team as well as I can. And so I think there is like trust that has been built there because of that. But, I think it's a two-way street. You got to give, you got to set yourself up, and then you can go have your fun. So.
And I mean, I will say again, from an employer perspective, there have been times in the past that I've had to say, I'm sorry, actually, those dates, we can't do that because this is a big install season, or we already have this going on. Can we look at shifting this? It's not about, I don't want you to have time off. It's about, we can't make this happen. And so that's been the exception more than the rule, but that does happen when there's not enough notice or forethought put into it.
Totally. And I always try to ours usually is revolving around like shows or album releases or things like that. But it's like, I would never ask if I know we have like a song coming out or whatever, because it's just like, there's too many moving parts that could pop up last second that and I want to be there because I've control issues of like, I know I want to be able to be like eyes on the prize, everything. And that wouldn't be fun if I'm on vacation. So I'm very big about like not planning around things too. So you're right. That's like important too.
Yeah, that makes sense. So talking about the music industry, what is one thing that you think people don't realize about the industry, like behind the scenes?
It's really like a 9 to 5. I mean, it's not because we have shows and things, but like the day-to-day work is like, I'm at my computer sending emails, filling out spreadsheets, like doing data reports. And I think so many people are just like, they see me out at shows or whatever, and they're like, oh, that must be so fun. But it's like, so much is me just sitting at my desk, like sending emails, like, a corporate job. And so I think sometimes people don't realize how much is me sitting at my desk.
That is interesting, because I would think it would have been a lot more fluid as far as the hours. I knew it was more than just like the flash and the shows and the press, but it always seemed like there was opportunity for it to bleed into personal time more. And it sounds like there is more structure to it than what I understood.
I feel like most weeks I can have a pretty normal 9 to 5 kind of scenario. Like this week, one of my clients is playing BMI's Rooftop. BMI like is a music rights organization, and they do these really fun happy hours. And so, I had to be there at 2 p.m. and then I was there till 9 p.m. So that's like a little bit, but that's more, once a month, or whatever. And it was like so fun to be like on a rooftop. There's like 500 industry people. Tyler from Love on the Spectrum was the host. And so it was like just a really fun night. And then, it's a lot of networking and mingling, but that happens, but it's not my every single night I have to like be out, which is nice.
Yeah. So we've talked so much about PTO and boundaries and those types of things. What does an ideal day off look like for you?
Hopefully not in Nashville, even though I love Nashville. I love to travel. I will travel very last second. So to me, honestly, like flying to LA, spending a day at my favorite cafe, and then hanging out with my friends at my friend Lala's house. We like all like will get a bunch of takeout, do game night, and just like laughing with my friends and just like being silly.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds lovely. I laugh because I often see on your Instagram, here's another plane, here's an airport, where are you going now? And you'll be like, I'm in Palm Springs, I'm in Korea. And I'm like, well, have fun. Next year, I guess it's going to be Antarctica.
I know, exactly. Yeah, I did once. This was a crazy story that I did to my boss once, is that I did ask on like a Thursday the week before if I could go to Korea for the weekend the following week. And he did say yes. So he goes, yeah, you should definitely go live your life. And I said, thank you. And I flew to Korea for a weekend a week later.
Okay, so a weekend, I think, like, good Lord, that's a long trip. What's the time difference?
Oh, it's like 14-hour time difference. And it was about 15-hour flight. So yeah, I left on a Thursday and I came back on a Monday.
That was a choice.
It was a choice, and I do not regret it. I had so much fun. I did so much in that for many hours I was there.
Well, that's good. That's good. So, talk about this exciting milestone that you just hit with signing your first artist to manage.
So I have worked in artist management for 13 years, and it's always kind of been in the back of my mind. I've floated through different roles of what that's looked like, working on different management teams, kind of doing day-to-day stuff, but never fully kind of being the one to sign a client. And so recently I had a great opportunity. I met this amazing artist, Aniston Pate. She's a new up-and-coming country singer, and we just clicked and it just made sense. And we both agreed that we wanted to work together. So it's been about 2 months now. And we're releasing her brand new EP on 5/1 called Handful. And what I was really drawn to her is that she is only 23, but she just had such a strong sense of self. And honestly, I saw so much of what I wish I was like at 23, kind of like all these things we're talking about of like, she knows who she is. She's quick to set boundaries of things about her career of like what she is and isn't. And I just thought like I was very inspired by that. And she had a cool visual world she's building for herself. And she's been doing it all on her own. And I was just like, golly, to be this confident and sure, like, it's just rare. And I'm a big fan of her songwriting. She's an incredible artist. And she's building this cool world called, she has a monthly residency called Texas 2 that she hosts with her best friend. And it's like a monthly musical night where they like highlight different artists. And she has this cool community that she's building. And so it's just so many like values I saw in myself that she has at such a young age. And it just made sense. So now I'm managing, and then I also am a marketing manager on a different client named Solon Holt. We just finished his debut album, and we hopefully will be announcing that soon, which is really exciting. But I just have appreciated this job. I have a wonderful boss who I had come to him maybe at the beginning of the year and kind of floated, maybe I'm ready to start managing. Like I'd always kind of had it in the back of my head, but no, the timing had never felt right. And the clients had never felt right for me personally to lead. And he took that. And so when this came up, he was like, I think you're the girl for this project. And it was just cool that he had that belief in me and has given me the space to like grow in the ways I want to grow. So yeah.
I think that's really cool. I'm excited to check out both those artists and their music coming out.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So you were talking about knowing yourself. What is one piece of advice that you would give your college self now?
Not to be afraid to fail. I think I was so scared of like doing something wrong or like bombing, and that would like I would never recover or something. And like so much of life is trial and error. And now I'm not afraid to take risk. And like maybe something wasn't that good or a post didn't do well or whatever, but it's okay. Like I wish I would have given myself that freedom, because I think it held me back in taking risk in my career and like stepping out to new opportunities, because I was just like so scared of the unknown.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a very relatable piece of advice because we often feel that way at different points.
Totally.
What's something you're excited about in your career? What's on the horizon?
Well, I think just growing as a manager and helping navigate some major record deals that we're working on right now, which just feels exciting. But yeah, and just being open to whatever's next.
Like Antarctica.
Yeah, like Antarctica. I was just going to say, everyone I say that to has the same reaction. They're like, come again? You're going to Antarctica?
I have so many questions about temperature and activity, and I think we'll have to discuss them offline.
Yeah, we will.
And penguins. Penguins keep coming to my mind too. So I don't know what that says about me and my assumptions here.
No, you're correct.
Molly, thanks for coming on and talking about your career trajectory. And if people want to connect with you further and watch all the cool stuff you're doing, what's the best way for them to do that?
I am Molly Tarr, Tarr on Instagram, and I am Corn Dog Kardashian on TikTok. That's where I post all my fun travels, concerts, any kind of like fun life things I'm up to. And that's Corn Dog with a K, to fit the Kardashian brand.
All right. It begs the question, how did you come up with that handle? Where did that transpire from?
Honestly, because I was posting a lot of like silly content and I was just like, I don't really want people to like search me and find me. One of my friends had one that was like food related and all of a sudden it just clicked and I was just like, it's kind of funny and memorable. And so yeah, I just stuck with it.
All right. Well, it is memorable because anytime I see a corn dog or a hot dog meme or t-shirt, I'm always like, oh, Malls, you need to see this. Like, you should buy
Exactly.
this.
The brand is strong. The brand is strong.
It is. It is. All right, sis. Thanks for coming on. It was a great combo.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Liz's House Hot Takes. This is where I take the lessons I've learned over the last 16 years of designing Greek houses and offer you my pro tips. Here's today's house hot take. Good design reduces getting ready drama. Clear storage, defined zones like shower, toilet, makeup counter, sinks, enough mirrors, adequate lighting. When a bathroom functions well, there's less friction in daily life. Thoughtful design actually supports better living together. Thanks for listening to another House Hot Take. For more inspiration, check out the PDR Interiors Instagram or TikTok. I'm Liz Alexander, and this is the Sorority Chat podcast. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you got something out of today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out this video right here or this one over here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. I'm Liz Alexander, and this is the Sorority Chat podcast. Catch you next time. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry for Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Liz Alexander.